Once again, Terran mobility showing how strong it is. Dropping those marauders and marines out of nowhere can really screw over the mineral line. Almost makes you wonder why the Reapers are actually in the game when Medivacs and marines and marauders can do a pretty similar job, to be honest. Although they're not as cool as Reapers. Nor have the cliff walking ability, but like I say, with the Medivac, then cliffs ain't no big deal, so... Like I say, it kinda makes you wonder why marauders exist, and you don't see them that often, really. And that amount of marines, marauders and the medivacs are just going to clean the fuck out of those hydralisks. They are going to drop very quickly, as complete and utter wipeout. Very little casualty for the Terran there, very little. Zerg with its third expansion, and it's just been seen by what's it called now? Scanner sweep. Yep, scanner sweep. I'm going to call it Comsat though. Once again, there are a sizable amount of hydralisks, opting to not really mix many roaches in there. Seems fair enough not to have too many roaches based on the fact that Terran is going to utilise a hell of a lot of marauders, no doubt. But at the moment, it doesn't have too many marauders. It's pretty marine heavy at the moment. So some roaches on that front rank would probably work out fairly well, but lots of upgrades going on for the Terran ground force. Level 2 in the works for ground as well as the combat shield. So it does seem like he's going to prioritise marines over marauders, at the moment at least. And he seems to have completely shut down on the idea of banshees and Vikings. Just the singular Viking there. Maybe he's going to go scout somewhere. And we seem to have a Zerg force incoming. There's quite a lot of hydralisks. A nice ability of the Viking being able to land and check out the Zelnaga watchtower. Seems like he may have seen that hydralisk force coming. I'm not quite sure, but he may have seen it. A lot of roaches coming out. He must have heard me. A lot of roaches coming out. 10 for MEETpokju as well as centrifugal hooks. Not quite sure what centrifugal hook upgrade actually is. What is that? Oh, for the banelings. Yeah, the baneling speed increase, of course. Of course. A lot of banelings in the mix. Seems like he's going to try roll them into the marines, and banelings do an excellent job versus marines. Really, really nice. Even just 5 or 6 banelings can do serious damage to the marine force, and that's what you need as well. You need burst to be able to get down as much as possible for the medivacs to start kicking in and like just making the Terran force last for so much longer than it should. A bit more of a mixed army there now. Some where was that scanner at? Just in front, very strange. Maybe just seeing if anything was lurking in front of the base, just in front of them. But that's a sizable amount of marines and some marauder backup there. 4 medivacs. And it's going to be close, I think. I'm not quite sure. The Hydralisks might have that, especially with the banelings. Banelings wanting to get in there, and if they do get in there, not quite as much damage as they probably hoped for there. It got soaked up by a few of the marauders, it seems. There's banelings spinning after it. Upgraded with speed, but not quite fast enough. I'm just going to target those banelings, make sure they don't get in there and hurt the poor marines. Roaches doing an okay job of soaking up, but only an okay job. But the Hydralisks are throwing out some serious damage there, and level 3 is really gone to town with upgrades very quick. If we look at the Zerg, level 2 upgrade on attacks, but no carapace upgrade. Whereas the Marines have the shield upgrade and are working on level 3 for both weapons and armour. When you combine that with the Medivacs, already providing quite a lot of longevity to the Marines and Marauders. It's going to work out pretty well. Looks like an infestation pit in the works for Zerg. Fairly equal sized armies. Terran a little bit smaller, but only by about 14 supply. Zerg does seem to have the vast majority of its forces. I wonder if you look at the camera, if only they could see each other. So close, yet so far. Oh, and he's gonna get flanked. Nasty. Split that Zerg force very nicely there. Now they're on even supply, with Zerg being forced to retreat back and regroup. Not like in the position there. MEETpokju just saying, ain't fighting on your ground, not under your rules. And the problem was there, it seems, that he lost a lot of his banelings in nothing really. He wanted them for the Marines. As you can see, dApollo is now fielding quite a few more Marauders. The ratio of Marauders to Marines increasing, probably to counter those banelings. And some Infestors. Very nice. It's a huge blob of Zerg. 167 supply worth of Zerg, in fact. Well, not all there, but you know what I mean. A nice mix of Hydras, Roaches, Banelings. I think there's some Zerglings mixed in there. Fuck knows, can't see properly. And 3 Infestors? 4 Infestors. 5, 6 Infestors. Probably going to use fungal growth on the Marines and either split the pack, you know, do a little bit of fungal growth kiting, or just outright. I mean, fungal growth by itself, even if you don't kite them with it, fungal growth's quite a nice bit of AoE damage. I think it does 35 damage or something like that, and the Marine only has 55 health, so it's doing more than half of his health. So you slap a few fungal growths down, it's going to sting that force. Not doing quite so much to the Marauders, but once again, if you use it to kite with and, you know, fungal growth move back, it could be quite nasty. Whether he does or not remains to be seen. Let's load into there. Marines and Marauders. Seeming fairly even in the economy at the moment. If you look at the income, Terran has the advantage, especially now when he removes. I mean, he wasn't mining from that expansion yet, but that's one expansion down. So Zerg having the 3 bases at the moment, to Terran's 1, 2, 3, 4, and a huge amount of units going to war there. Fungal growths, banelings, holy shit! Zerg just tore open a new arsehole for Terran. And even with those medibacks loaded with units, it's probably not going to be enough. Terran has Zerg has a huge force main, and the fungal growth is just going to rape those Marines. A baneling into the flank. Hydralisks not wanting to shoot at range, wanting to get really up close and personal. Using the high ground there. With no line of sight, then Terran is quite free to shoot down. With no fear of retaliation, but that really stung Terran there, really stung. Look at the army size, Terran is down to a meager 64 supply with units to Zerg's 117. And the economies have just balanced out there, losing that expansion. Zerg a little strong. I'm a little strong. Retorts Pokju. Indeed, I think that would be the case. I would consider Zerg to be good, but I wouldn't consider them to be stronger than Terran at the moment. That's not I mean, I play Zerg, so you could consider that to be favouritism, but not particularly, because Zerg was losing to the Marine and Marauder medivac army until Zerg started throwing some banelings in there to counter with the Marines. That's fair enough in my opinion. dApollo produced a hell of a lot of Marines, and Zerg's counter to a hell of a lot of Marines is a hell of a lot of banelings. There was no imbalance or problem there, in my opinion anyway. Merely utilised the tools that Zerg have to offer. Saying that though, I mean, dApollo is coming back in the army count, and income-wise, he is ahead. Similar, but he's still ahead. He has a far greater amount of expansions fully going, whereas MEETpokju just has the 3 and the 4th. Should be getting set up now, but he seems to be in a bit slow starting out. Perhaps trying to micro his army over here as well. That's one less expansion for dApollo. An Overseer would do a good job there of being able to say, ah, you seem to have an expansion up there, sir. And an SCV already up there, ready to plant down a command centre if need be. But that's one less expansion again for dApollo.